Good morning, Algebra 2. Favorite students in the world, my bright rays of sunshine. I wish I could be there, but I'm not. I have to do training today. So since I'm going to do training, I'm going to make sure that you get your training, all right, and your practice. I don't want you to miss a beat. So what we're going to do is we're going to work on complex numbers. You should have already gotten this sheet from the front. There's also a worksheet that goes with it, so you should have two sheets with you right now, a pink one and then your complex numbers worksheet to go along with it. Now, just so you know what you're doing, cut out along the edges, just like I've done here in the picture, and then go ahead and glue it in. But first fold it like I did here. And this is a lot like you guys have done before with many of your foldables or notes. Now, if you notice, I did not cut here. Let me get a little different color so you can see what I just did there. Don't cut here and here. I know that there's a little line to cut there, but don't cut there. If you did, not the end of the world, but it's not necessary, so don't do it if you are listening. Go ahead and label the top, complex numbers, get your page number labeled, and then organize yourself by going back to your unit table and filling out complex numbers. And remember, whatever page number you have, put it there. Also, make sure that this goes in on the left side of the page. Okay, so turn the page. The last one we did was Powers of I, your blue sheet, or the blue notes. Now I want you to do this one on the left side on the next page. Okay, so let's get to it. So let's scroll to the top here. So here is my Word version of it on the on my pad here. So we're going to work with complex numbers. The first thing we've been looking at was prime factoring, breaking down numbers into its smallest parts. Then we looked at radicals and how to work with those and simplify them. Then the next thing we did that we've just been working on, that you did IXL over the last couple of days and got it done, right? I know you guys got your homework done, okay? Was the imaginary numbers, Powers of I. So now what we're going to do is take it just a notch up to the next level, and we're going to work with complex numbers. Now we're still working with imaginary numbers. As you can see, there's an I right there. So we're still working with imaginary numbers, but we're going to use those skills you just learned to deal with a little bit more complex numbers. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is, what is a complex number? Well, a complex number, and this is the top left of your sheet, is a number that's a binomial. Now, what is a binomial? Probably you've heard that before. Maybe you don't remember what it is. A binomial is just, oh, I'm sorry. Uh-oh, whoa, 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 whoa. My sheet's going all over the place. Okay, let me zoom in here for you. A binomial is just a two-term number. So right here we have one term and two terms. That's a binomial. Anytime you have two numbers added or subtracted to each other, it's a binomial. Now with complex numbers, because this is a complex number, complex numbers, you have two parts. The first one is the real number. The second part is the imaginary number. Imaginary number. The difference between the two is simply this. A real number is just a number. Nothing else. Nothing fancy. No eyes. No. It's just real. It doesn't have a term. It doesn't have a variable or anything like that. The second part is the imaginary number, which just has the letter I with it. So if it has an I, which is an imaginary number, we call that the imaginary number. So you have the one on the left and one on the right. Now the important thing about this is that the real number needs to go on the left. And this is what I'm talking about when you write your answer. And when we work out these problems, your real number needs to go on the left and your imaginary number needs to go on the right. Okay? So let's take a look at some of these. So let's go down below these. You're going to scroll down here and you're going to go to this problem here. Okay, this is the first one we're going to look at. Now this is going to be, if you look on your sheet, adding and subtracting complex numbers. So we're doing adding and subtracting here. So the way to do this is it's just like if you're combining like terms. It's just the same process. So here, in this case, we got parentheses, so we got to get rid of the parentheses, right? Now, let's get rid of these parentheses. Nothing happens here because there's no negative in front of those. And nothing changes here in this parentheses because it's just a plus in front. Now, what you want to do is identify which parts are the real numbers and then which parts are the imaginary numbers. And you're going to combine those terms just like you would with any other problem. So now you have 4 minus 2 and 2i minus 5i, which is simply 3i. And if you notice, I have my real number on the left and my imaginary number on the right. And that's how you do it. Okay, now let's go to this next one, right below it. Now we're going to do the same thing. Now nothing in this parentheses changes because we've got a plus here. So you can just take those down, take away the parentheses, and rewrite it like this. And then it's just simply combine the real numbers and combine the imaginary numbers. But there's of course only one term for the imaginary numbers. So it's just 5 plus 3 minus I. Pretty easy so far, right? Should be. Now, let's take it a step up here. Now we're going to subtract. I'm sorry guys, my notes keep flying all over the place. Let me scroll back up here. Okay. So here's our next one. Okay, so now we're going to subtract. So first, identify your real numbers. And then identify your imaginary numbers. Sorry, there's a real number there. So now we're going to do, we've got a negative here. So remember, we have to distribute the negative. I apologize, my color keeps jumping out of the way. And we're going to distribute this negative across. And then we'll rewrite it. So now we'll get 4 plus 2i, because nothing happens to that one. And after we distribute the negative over here, then that 2 becomes positive, and that negative 5i becomes positive as well. Now let's combine the like terms. So 4 and 2 is 6, and 2 plus 5i, 2i plus 5i is just 7i. And there we are. And remember, real numbers on the left, imaginary parts on the right. Okay? And you can pause this video if you need to take some time to copy that down, or if you need to hear it again. Don't feel like I'm rushing you. You can always go back and watch it again or repeat it. Okay? Now, this one, let's first distribute this negative. Because remember, there's a negative 1 there. There's a 1 that we can't see. So let's distribute that negative 1. Now we end up with 5 minus 3 plus I, and then just simply combine the like terms. 5, oops, sorry, that's not plus. 5 minus 3 is 2, and then plus I. Okay? Now, let's go up above that, and let's start doing some multiplication. Now this is going to start using your skills that we just learned the other day, powers of I. If you don't recognize that we're already going to, that you can see here, we're going to start multiplying those i's together. Okay, so now first thing let's do is multiply the real parts. Well, there's only one real part, there's only a 3. Okay, so we'll just write it down here. Now we're going to multiply I times I squared, which is I to the 3. But you're not done yet, because remember, we can simplify that more. If you remember in your notes, and if you don't remember, look in your notes on the powers of I, and what is I to the 3 equal to? Negative I. 3. Oops, sorry. It's equal to negative I. And then we can just move that negative to the front and make it negative 3i. Okay? So that one's pretty simple. Let's move to the next one. Let's use a different color. Let's use orange. Now this one, first, multiply your real parts. So let's do negative 6 times 12. Sorry, times 2. Negative 6 times 2. That's just negative 12. Then multiply your imaginary parts. So I squared times I squared is just I to the 4th. That color's a little too thick. Now if you remember, if you go look back and look in your powers of I notes, you can see that I to the 4th is also equal to 1. Because remember, we just look at that exponent of the i's. If it's divisible evenly, if 4 goes into it evenly, then this is just 1. So negative 12 times 1 is just simply 12. Now, in both of these cases that we just did, you'll notice that it's not a binomial. It doesn't look like a binomial anymore. All it is just 3i, and then you've got negative 12 over here. But it actually still is a complex number. Because what you have to know is that even though you don't see anything, there's actually still in this case, there's still a real number over here. It's just 0. So this is the same thing, and that's how we write it. And then over here, where we don't see an imaginary number, on the second example, it's negative 12 plus 0i. Because they're still equal. It doesn't change the number. But we have to remember that there is still an imaginary number out there on this one. And then on this one, there's still a real number over here. Okay? So, let's move to the next one. And actually, I'm going to pause it. I'm going to stop the video here. And I'm going to create another video to continue this. All right.